Um, so future-proofing your household, for me, starts exactly what this picture is saying. It's unless we get to the point where it's actually settled in our hearts, the importance of being future-proof or resilient, or as we spoke about complacency last week, uh, uh, shaking the complacent thing that we find ourselves, mostly find ourselves in. Unless we address it at home, once it's settled in our hearts, nothing will change globally. So whatever views or uh, things that we have in terms of making a difference uh, globally has to start at our home. But why be future-proof? Just very brief. To me, future-proofing is the essence of sustainability. This is where sustainability starts, and future-proofing our households will promote global sustainability. It will drive resilience, growth, self-sufficiency. It will ensure sustainability or stability at least, and it creates a healthy future that we can share with everybody. Now we all know this logo on the left on the screen, our sustainability goals, the things that we as huge hold very dear. Now, there's three areas that I want to highlight in terms of future-proofing our households, and that's the people, the planet. Now, I call it their planet, but when I call it their planet, then I'm talking about their home, because your home should be your world, and their prosperity, obviously, which is very essential. And I think with prosperity, that's where most of us have problems at this point in time. But there's reasons for that, and I think if we see the reasons and we start to work on the other issues that is working up to us not being as prosperous as we feel that we should be, then prosperity will come automatically. So let's start with the people, the power of my people, my household. Now, the screen that I have up now is typically what we would love to see our households be. It is our home, our safe place. Our household is who we are and the way we live. It fosters development, our growth, strength. It allows us to be a vulnerable self without fear. It regenerates us physically and emotionally. It promotes unity in the face of anything. And then the questions that we need to ask is, or not the questions, but yeah, oh yeah, or laat val ek myself. See, I'm working with two devices today, and it's the is our household. Somehow I cut myself. There we go. Our household is our collective love, peace, and joy. It is our hope expressed. Now, we've had a very interesting discussion during our committee meeting this morning, and there's one thing that we realize, and that is the wounds of the past needs to be healed before we can go anywhere with these things. Instead of trying to fix one another, I think we need to try and spend more time with one another, understanding the hurt that has been inflicted in the past, and seeing how we can help one another heal. And then we can start to look at or future-proofing. I call it fireproof households, future-proofing our household. But what will a future-proof household look like? It will consist of like-minded people, a close-knit family for that matter, emotionally resilient. I find it very interesting to see how many of our leaders today are emotionally still so immature, and that reflects on their ability to actually lead effectively. And it's important that we look at being emotionally mature or resilient for that matter, and that can only start if we've become whole inside, if the wounds has been healed. Um, we need to be well organized, disciplined yet agile, decisive and responsive. And I mentioned this in the previous future-proof discussion too. Being responsive is very important, because there's things that's going to happen that is unexpected, and future-proofing is exactly that, is to be ready for anything that can happen. And if the unexpected should happen, how you respond to that is very important. We need to return to principles, and live a principled life. I think that's very important. We need to be vigilant, same as responsive, innovative. We can't throw that away. And then, to me, what I think is very important is that a household that is future-proof, all the members of that household, be it family, be it friends, or whatever it is, roommates, will walk arm in arm, even if they don't see eye to eye. Then we get to the planet, my home, my world. Um, what does the actual future-proof home look like? Making your home future-proof starts by assessing your home to determine what needs to change. Now, there could be many things. There's physical stuff. There's also the softer issues. But when it comes to the home itself, we need to look at water consumption, electricity consumption, food consumption. We need to look at how energy effective or efficient the house is. How efficient are we in the things that we do in and around the house, because that affects the environment in which we live. We can either mess it up or we can build it up. So to me, it all starts by assessing where you are, where your home is at this point in time. Hi, Nkele. And then it is to determine possible future threats, develop a plan that will address those threats. Now, it's very easy to do that. Some people look at and they say, now, how do you know that things in the future, certain things will happen? Well, there's certain things that we can only prepare for, and which may not exactly happen, but it may happen in different forms. At least you are prepared for that. So it's important to look at, for instance, in our situation, what happens if Eskom closes their doors in the next month or so? Um, is there a way in which we can be ready should that happen? Um, and what do we need to do to actually be ready when Eskom closes its doors? Now, there's a big discussion that we can, and it will take more time than what we have at the moment. But those are the things that you need to do. Look at your water supply, the safety of the water, your food security, your security and safety in general. Are you equipped at home with technology, the tools and the appliances that you need to actually live fairly independently of, of the stuff outside of your household? Your home must create an ecosystem that supports your lifestyle. Now, some of us have a wasteful lifestyle. I'm not saying that you should now go and design your home in a way that will actually emphasize your wastefulness. I'm talking about responsible lifestyles. So, but and I'll mention it later too, is that we shouldn't allow the changes that we need to make in order to fit in with this green lifestyle that everybody is talking about to change who we are. It simply should be an adaptation of what we do and how we do things, and not changing who we are. Our prosperity, how we roll, how do we make these things happen? Now, I think, as I said earlier on, this to us is mostly where our headaches lie at this point in time. And I think there's one very core issue that actually causes us to to have a problem in the prosperity area. And I think that's mainly because we do not understand what prosperity is. We see prosperity, and I think if you go and Google it, you'll also find that in most cases, prosperity is equated with financial affluence. to have a lot of stuff. And it's not that. It goes far beyond that. And unfortunately, the world has wired us all to think that if you are not prosperous financially, then you're not prosperous at all. For me, prosperity starts with the fact that I've been created to be to be prosperous. I've been created with the ability to create wealth. Um, but there's obviously, if I say that I've been created to create wealth, then I must also understand that there's purpose that is connected to that wealth. Wealth is not just there for me to have a lucky life. Um, it's nice, and lots of people do live that way, and unfortunately, we try and measure ourselves by them, but that's not where it starts. It is about having a fulfilling life. Um, so for me, prosperity flows from freedom. And yeah, I mentioned again, to be free, but yet to be connected. Um, some people think that they are free if they are totally living on their own, doing their own little thing. And, you know, if that is what makes you happy, then it's fine. But I don't think that we've been created to be an island on our own. We've been created to add value and to receive value into the world that we live in. It flows from the health, from our health. It flows from the wealth that we have. Purpose driven, obviously, because anything without purpose is meaningless. Religious beliefs, very important when it comes to creating prosperity. Your security, the stability in which you find yourself in, and family well-being. Now, at the bottom there, I use the age-old adage: what you sow is what you will reap, and that is very true when it comes to prosperity. Um, Giving and receiving, sowing and reaping, and all those things are universal principles that we need to live by. Um, and the Bible teaches us that God loves cheerful givers. Creating prosperity um, for us in our households starts with bringing restoration to the household. It's bringing restoration in the area of who we are. We need to understand who we are, what we've been created to do, um, and, 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 and be set free from traditional teaching. And I'm referring to teaching in all areas of life, not just in certain things, but in all areas of life. The stuff that we've been taught in the past and the traditions that we've been raised with, in some instances are good. So I'm not discarding it totally. But guys, we need to be very careful how we apply old mindsets to the new world in which we live. So I'm saying they set your people free, obviously expose them to the truth of who they are, what they're supposed to be doing, how life is supposed to be led today. Teach them about these things, teach them to think and be innovative, and protect them. Because that is how we protect, how we create our legacy. If things cannot just be created, it needs to be protected too. And then to bring restoration to our environment, our relationship with creation itself. How do you live with creation? Are we really in that harmony that we should be with nature? How do we nurture and protect it? If we go back to the book of Genesis and we look at the instructions that God has given Adam, he's given him the responsibility to rule over creation in many ways. He named everything that was created, for one thing, and he made sure that everything in creation, or the garden that he found himself in at that time, was nurtured and protected. That was part of what he had to do. And we should still try and find that harmony with nature to actually make sure that nature is protected. It's our responsibility. Then also our culture. There's a lot of things that I think that we've lost in culture, our culture as community. We've lost the sense of community. because things in the community or in the culture that we find ourselves are no longer what we from deep within that we really want. The stuff that we want, there's a spiritual need that we have, and it's not being fulfilled in the communities that we stand in. And this is why most of us withdraw without even knowing it. You withdraw from community, you withdraw from community life. You live in neighborhoods where you don't even know your neighbors anymore, because the things that you experience in society is no longer what we want it to be. Our culture, morally, obviously, if we look around us, the loss of respect, loyalty, discipline, principles, a principled living that is rooted in truth, trust that has gone out the back door, reliability. I mean, we talk about these things every day in our lives, and we're not in these words specifically, but how many of these things has just disappeared from the life that we actually want to live? Stewardship, being accountable for things. We just don't find that anymore. And those are the things that we need to change. Now, faith-driven, I, I just put in these things here to remind us that there's things in terms of our faith, our belief system, that we need to live when it comes to prosperity. Now, materialism will never get you to be prosperous, because that's what as I said earlier on, that is when we try to fulfill a spiritual need with a material thing. Um, can never work for you. So when we look from a spiritual side, guys, let's keep to the basics there. There's certain things. Find your God, worship your God, and live in unity with your God, in a relationship that will be conducive for you, your family, and everybody else. As for me and my house, we worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. Just the scripture that I mentioned there, from 1 Timothy 6:9, just to confirm that, but they that desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare and many foolish and hurtful lusts, such as drown men in destruction and perdition. I think if we just think very quickly, then we can actually name quite a few people that we know that has fallen into those traps. We must always remember that we are blessed, created to create wealth. We are blessed to be a blessing. And God will generously provide for you in all your needs. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. As the scriptures say, they share freely and they give generously to the poor. Their good deeds will be remembered forever. Um, I think we've had many experiences in our own lives like that, where once we start to be generous, people around us become generous. It's just the way it is. We should not disregard wisdom and faithfulness, but those are the things that you can. I'm just reminding you of that, by the way. Prosperity at home. What is needed to be prosperous at home? And these are the tools I think that we need to focus on. It's not always the hard stuff. It's the stuff that that we have in our hands. Connectedness, in person. We need to be connected to other people. In technology, there's a lot of things in our tech world that uh, I mentioned this morning in our committee meeting too. People are talking about the digital revolution that is taking place and the things that's happening around us, the development and all those things, and all these fantastic tools that we have available in terms of our technology and the stuff that comes with it. But at the core of it all lies the internet, uh, that connectivity that you need to make the technology work for you. if that connectivity is not there, then most of the technology that we have today will not work. Um, our cell phones, most of the things we do on our cell phones require connected to be connected. Um, and the same way, we should also place ourselves in such a position that we remain connected. Um, and then obviously cooperation. Um, I've seen so many households where one person will do all the work and the others will just be there. There's no sense of I have a role and a responsibility that I need to fulfill. Guys, if trouble hits that household, then all they will do is probably survive. There's no ways that they will be able to live a fulfilling life in a challenging future. Ideas. Um, Ideas is, I mean, we see many evidence or lots of evidence of it around us in the world today. How simple ideas has led to people becoming extremely wealthy. Um, so do not underestimate the power of an idea um, in your situation. Information, research, work on yourself, work on personal development. Guys, it's extremely important for us to have information about the things that's happening in the world. Now, I'm not talking about the news. We all know the news is not really conducive to a peaceful life. It incites you to all sorts of conduct that is not becoming a future-proof family. It's good to know what's happening. It's good to see the news and understand, but it's important that let me just deal with this. Okay. Plans and the what if strategies, resources. I see that we are running out of time, and I want to give us. On the next slide, I make the statement, and this is something that we all talk about from time to time. It takes money to make money. I've never been comfortable with that statement because it's not true. It's true maybe for the people that believe it to be true in the sense that they see themselves in a position where they will never be able to make money. But the question is that true? I don't think so. I think we need to look at ways to create prosperity, ways to create income and diverse streams of income differently. If we look at it differently, then obviously we will find the statement that it takes money to make money to not be true, because we can actually do that and achieve much more by the simple things that we have in our hands. So to understand income, we must understand that it comes in many forms. Um, some we will work for, we will do some buying and selling. Money can also be earned in other ways through our networks, what we know, who we know. There's always a return on your investments. There's earnings that you can have through savings, and I'm not talking about savings in the bank only, but savings in terms of stuff you do that has a cost attached to it, and you need to and there's an opportunity to save money, you can acquire those things. So those are all ways in which we can actually make money. What we need to ask ourselves is, what am I good at? How can that thing that I'm passionate about be offered in exchange for value? Now, it need not always be in exchange for money, and I think that's a limitation that we put on ourselves. But we can exchange the knowledge that we have, the experience, who we have become, and offer that to the people around us for value in return, because they have the same things that they can offer us again. And we can save money on using those things instead of having to acquire it. How can I earn from my network? Um, Consider trading value for value. Same thing. How can I optimize the use of my stuff? Now, I just look at my own garage. I'm sitting with a garage full of construction tools and equipment and all sorts of other things, from woodworking machines to steelworking stuff, building things and whatever. It's worth quite a bit of money, but it's not working for me at the moment. So I need to, and I've been doing that, I need to look at, is it maybe time to get rid of some of it, at least take that money and do other things with it? Is there a way in which I can apply it so that I can actually earn money off of it? A hobby that I can make wood furniture or whatever. So there's many ways in which I can do that. But it's not in my garage. I've got lots of other things too. Stuff that we've bought and gathered over the years that is at the moment fairly dormant, because we're going into this change in our lives where we are no longer really working with our hands. We're no longer physically doing things because, you tend to get a little older and the body don't want to do all these things anymore. But so we need to look at those things and say, guys, I'm sitting with all of these things. What is it that I'm really going to do with it? Or am I just going to hold on to it for the sake of holding on to it? There's no real value to it. What investment can I make that will give me a sustained income? And Owens, I'm not talking about these multi-level things only. Unfortunately, we get trapped into the honey that has been thrown out there on social networks when it comes to, all the stuff that I'm talking about. I don't even want to mention it. There's technology that underpins most of these things, which I think is important for us to get to know. If I talk about the Bitcoin thing, the technology that the blockchain technology that goes with it, and those things. I think it's stuff that will impact on our future significantly, and it's good for us to know the technology. But be careful not to get involved in stuff that is based on hype, because hype is not sustainable. And that's the problem that I have with most of these things. It's exploitative because it's based on hype. They charge you up with a lot of soft stories. You get boots and all involved into it, and somebody else makes the money, you lose the money, and you walk away. But let's carry on. We don't have. Just something that I want to emphasize again. Do not change who you are. Change the way you do things. Little fault there. I hope you saw the mistake. So that's what future proofing is all about. I see our session is almost out. I'm going to restart a new session. I don't know if there's anything anyone would like to share with us at the moment. I had to work between different technologies today because my computer decided that it's not going, this mic is not working. So I'm working with my phone and my computer. So if there's anybody that wants to say something, that wants to ask or make comments, the floor is yours. Nobody?
Steve, thanks for your generous time and your input on this subject. I think it's a great extension of the last 2 weeks. And I think it's building an understanding of what's not just going on in the world, but how we can make a difference and change the world by making simple actions count. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the generosity.
It's only a pleasure, dude. This is what we do. Especially when we work together like this. I think there's a very nice, I don't know what to call it, but it's probably just an ecosystem that is starting to form within you, which I think is important, because without these ecosystems that sustains the things that we believe in, because that's important. Many of us belong to other sorts of ecosystems, but at the end of the day, it does not support the stuff that you are passionate about. It does not give you the freedom to live those things. And I think it's important that we as huge, seeing that we are focused on sustainability, that we do these things that will bring sustainability to us all. Anyone
Yeah,
else
I
that would
think.
like to? Yes, sure, Mike. Mark.
Yeah, I think that that's it. It's like your closing slide shows. It's about those simple changes of acts of. So I mean, I'm a chairman of a squash club. It's got 110 members, and Planet Fitness has reopened the club, but they haven't opened the squash courts. They've used them as a storeroom for all the other gym equipment. So we've got all of the people who are annoyed. Now it's a voluntary organisation to have some fun and play squash, and one of the members has said, "Hey guys, listen. At least the club is open, and they're doing their best within the framework." At the meantime, another club has come forward, and we've had a meeting where they are generous by generosity are allowing us to go and use their facilities. They've waived their annual fees. They've made a monthly commitment purely for the fact that they want to maintain the involvement of the squash club in this area. And we've worked with them before. If it was a different approach that says, no, you need to charge, we need to pay our members and we want to undermine everybody else's business, it wouldn't work. And it's really, I think that's the positive stuff that comes from this disruptive period. There are different ways to achieve the same goal, but working together from someone else's perspective and then being generous, but without undermining each other and getting lost in material transactions.
Yeah,
The material stuff is what comes out of it.
for sure. Guys, I see that we've got a few seconds left on this. Do you want me to start the second session if you want to participate in the discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, then we can end the session and then start the second session, an open floor session.
Thank you, Steve. Is it the same code?
Same code. You just